Welcome to the How to Soundproof My House video series. In this series, we're going to go through lots of different styles of property, whether that's a bungalow, apartment, semi-detached, terrace, or detached properties. And we're going to share with you the different ways in which you could soundproof these properties. There's a lot more to it than just soundproofing the direct noise path. And hopefully each one of these videos will have a little insight that you'll be able to take away and apply to your own property. So if you're a builder, DIYer, or homeowner looking to reduce the noise in your own home, this video series is for you. Hi guys, in this video we're going to go through how to soundproof this particular type of property. If you have a bungalow or a property that has a dormer window, this particular construction technique which creates a room above and creates this dormer window, then this is a great video for you. We're going to go through how to get a significant reduction in neighbour noise and how to soundproof this particular type of property. We're going to start with this property here on the other side of the street, this one here. You can see the neighbours have a dormer window creating that extra bedroom above, and the property here does not have a dormer window. It's just a bungalow. Is a single story bungalow. This front lounge will have noise coming from an angle from this room up here. This is the neighbour's dormer, and if they've got a TV, radio or conversation or maybe stomping around, whatever they're doing in that bedroom, that noise is coming down at an angle into this lounge, and therefore reducing that noise coming down at an angle is quite a tricky thing to do. So let's have a look in this room and show you how we go about soundproofing this room against the neighbours that have a dormer window. So here we are, we're in this front lounge here and we are getting ready to soundproof. This is the separating party wall here, and the neighbour's dormer window or their bedroom is diagonally up that way, up there. And we've got noise coming down at an angle. We've also got noise coming through the direct noise path, and there's also a suspended floor void as well. Because we look outside in the property, so just zoom in, you can see there's vents there, and the neighbours have vents as well. Just scroll down, there you go, there's some vents there and there, and what that does, that signals suspended floor voids. Depending on where you are in your soundproofing journey, you might have heard a lot of people say you just need to put a panel system on this party wall, or maybe an independent wall with some clips and channels on this direct noise path of the party wall to the ceiling, to the floor, and you'll get a really good reduction in noise. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. If we look at this lounge here, and because of the age of the property, this ceiling board here is just a 9mm board. So removing that exposes that huge loft, that big gable. Now up there where my cursor is, hopefully you can see that depending if you're watching on your phone or iPad or desktop, but that area there is where that dormer, that is the gable. And that dormer window there is right up there diagonally the other side of this gable wall. So there's going to be supporting joists to support this dormer window. So some of the older ones will just have wooden supporting joists. But if we go down the street to some of the newer ones, that looks fairly new, that might have an RSJ, a roll steel joist here supporting that dormer window. Of course, things like that will amplify the noise. It will transmit the noise into the lounge. So not only do we have to create a barrier to the direct noise path, but we also need to treat this area up here as well. And what we decided to do with this project is we finished the lounge, so we soundproofed this wall here because that's an old doorway, and that wall need to be treated. When the homeowner put their finger in the ear and put their ear on this wall, the noise was just as loud on this wall here as it was the party wall. And that's a test that you can do right now at home for you. Next time you're hearing your neighbours, is put your ear on those flanking walls. Anyway, we treated the direct noise path, but then we went up here and we treated this loft as well. You can see here the system has been tucked up. Yeah, we've tucked the system up. This is the system downstairs, being sure to keep that airflow. You must keep the airflow. This is a cold roof, so we have to keep that airflow. But we needed to soundproof this gable wall. And one thing we did is we sound dampened the big gable wall where that dormer window is. Remember, it's the other side of that big gable wall is the dormer window. And we soundproofed that, sound deadened that, and then we covered it with a 100mm rock wool to reduce the sound bouncing around in the loft. You can see the system from downstairs being tucked up above the ceiling, but then we cover the whole gable wall with the rock wool. You cover the entire lounge ceiling with the rock wool, and we put the old insulation back on there to increase the thermal value. But even though you've got all that sound dampening to the gable wall, you've insulated in between all of these joists, you still got noise in the structure. Kids running up and down the stairs, boom, 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 all that sort of impact noise coming through. That noise is in the structure of the building. So the noise is in these joists. So the only way to reduce that noise getting into this lounge when you finish, to get into this ceiling, is to decouple your finished ceiling from these joists. And how do we do that? Well, the same way we do the walls. We use a resilient bar system and we decouple the ceiling from the structure. To reduce impact noise such as doors banging, kids running up and down the stairs, those clonks and clangs that you're hearing, and airborne noise such as TV, conversation, and music coming through the wall, either diagonally from the dormer window coming diagonally into this lounge or coming through directly that way, we needed to address the loft and the suspended floor void. Another indirect noise path which is key to this particular type of property with this particular style of dormer window or building construction is the dwarf walls. And what do I mean by that? Look where this dormer window sits on the roof, and look where this lounge is. Let's take this property here, where here they've definitely got a noise problem, both neighbours hearing each other. Now, in that bedroom there, or in this bedroom here, look where the windowsill sits and look where the roof finishes. There's a huge gap between the edge of the property and where the windowsill sits. For example, you can see the sloping roof section here, and you can see where the windowsill sits. Yeah, so see where the windowsill sits. If we just have a quick look out the window, you can see where the windowsill sits and where the edge of the property sits. So if you can imagine, below this is a living room, a lounge, and look where this windowsill sits. Yeah, it creates a stud wall. If we look the other side, opposite the window, you have another stud wall, which sometimes they create eaves cupboards. And if you have a loft conversion, this would be true for you as well, where you have this dwarf wall. Now look where that dwarf wall, this stud wall, sits in relation to the living room or lounge down below. Let's go back to my lounge here. Imagine this property had that dwarf wall above. That stud wall is going to sit about there. And if the front of the property, it's going to sit about there. It's almost in the middle of the ceiling. So both these properties have stud walls perpendicular, and the stud walls sit above both of their lounge. So the stud wall in this property sits above this lounge, and the stud wall below this window sits above this lounge. Now those stud walls perpendicular, they're like little amplifiers. They're amplifying the noise from the neighbours. So this stud wall here, it will amplify the noise from this property and shoot it down into this living room down below, and the same, this stud wall here will amplify the noise from this room and shoot it into that living room down below. But also, because it's almost like an amplifier, it's amplifying the noise, like when you put a cone in your ear and you amplify the noise. Yeah, you're amplifying your noise and the neighbour noise back into this lounge because it's sat immediately above the ceiling. Quite a tricky concept to understand, but a stud wall perpendicular is a main cause of the noise, and if you don't address that main cause, the noise will still come through. So you could do all of that soundproofing in the living room down below, but if you haven't addressed that main cause of that stud wall above, then the noise is still going to get into this lounge irrespective of all of this soundproofing, because it's a main cause. It means it doesn't matter what soundproofing you do, it doesn't matter how singing or dancing this is, unless you address the main cause, the noise will still come through. Okay, so the stud wall is outside of this room that you're trying to soundproof, and like a lot of properties, the main cause is often in another room. It's upstairs or in an adjacent room, and that's the case with these properties. Getting into these eave sections can be quite tricky if you don't have a cupboard in place. And we're talking about insulating this area here, which if we look outside again, it's that area above the roof here where my cursor is, which is the lounge ceiling. The lounge ceiling in this room, the lounge ceiling in this area here. You can see the sloping roof section. Insulating this area is a key indirect noise path. It has to be soundproofed. It has to have sound insulation too, to stop the sound resonating, but also to stop the noise getting into the lounge from above, and stop the sound resonating in the hollow void. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you step by step how to insulate your eave sections here, but we show you all of that in detail in the noise-free DIY soundproofing course, literally step-by-step instructions. However, I must stress, do not block up the eave sections with a cold roof system. If you block up this airflow here, you will cause yourself condensation issues, and very quickly. The actual condensation can happen in a matter of months if you block up these sections here. So make sure the airflow, you've got plenty of airflow, but also insulate it enough to reduce the noise getting in and stop the sound resonating. And for those properties that do have the dormer roof here, both you and your neighbours have the dormer roof, or maybe you are this property and you're suffering from TV noise coming up at an angle, so you have a dormer and your neighbours don't. How you soundproof this room is key as well, because you need to, here we are up in the dormer, you need to sound deaden the gable wall. Yeah, you need to sound deaden it, you need to insulate it in the eave sections, but installing a system to sound dampen that gable wall to reduce the noise coming up at an angle. Remember, the noise is coming through the structure, it's coming through this brick wall, and then it's radiating out into the room. But we're also treating the dormer section, which is often wooden joist construction, so meeting that building regulations thermal value with the sound insulation is key as well. And then of course it's all put back ready for painting and decorating. To massively reduce the noise in this property, we followed the 4-step soundproofing method. And first of all, the first step is we address the main causes of the noise. And this property had 2 main causes. The first main cause was the suspended floor void, and the second main cause was that loft where the dormer window noise was coming down at an angle. The direct noise path was this party wall here, where we installed what we call a floating frame system, and look at my other videos if you want to see that. And we also needed to treat the indirect noise path of this flanking wall, as well as treating the ceiling noise coming through those joists. The fixtures and fittings were a laminate floor. We changed the underlay to create more of a floating floor to reduce the impact noise from the joists, which we remember are going into the separating party wall. So we tried to decouple the floor a little bit by changing the underlay that the laminate floor sat on. New skirting, it had a new fire design and new lighting. Alright guys, I hope this little video has given you some insights on how to soundproof this particular type of property. As mentioned earlier on in the video, the noise-free DIY soundproofing course goes through all the different soundproofing techniques, how to address all of those different noise paths on a variety of different properties, whether it's this property or a semi-detached, terrace or detached property. If you're interested in learning more, you might want to check out my soundproofing masterclass, which I'm running real soon. The link to register is in the description down below, and what's quite refreshing is there's nothing to buy at the end. It's just pure content, and I hope you get value from it. Alright guys, that's it for now. I'll see you on the next video.